coming up on the Starfall Islands.
You tracked the Chaos Emeralds here, right? Let's find out what drew them here.
The skies ahead.
He never stops. Clarification. He never gives up.
It's just Sonic Frontiers! I love Sonic Frontiers. While I may not talk about it as much as other creators, this game holds a special place in my heart, both as a Sonic fan and in my personal life. Sonic Frontiers created a paradigm shift for the formula we all knew from previous entries, introducing new ways to experience fast-paced platforming action. With its groundbreaking Titan bosses that revolutionized what it meant to be supersonic and a new emotional shift that the story provided, it's definitely a game that I adore and love for the risks and changes that it executed. Not to mention that it's a game that breathed new life into the Sonic series, for better or for worse. This game helped the franchise and took the risks that it needed for the series to stay alive. Is the game perfect? No! However, for what it does, I love it. Within the cracks that are present in the game's design and architecture, there is a lot of fun to be had. Again, it's not a perfect game, but for what it offers, I'm glad that this game is here today. Content updates for the game, such as the Final Horizon update, helped me at a time when I was struggling in life, as I was in college when the DLC initially released. The new soundtrack, the new final boss, the story, all of these elements became a source of comfort for me at a time when I was trying to carve out my path in life. Sonic Frontiers may have flaws, but it brought back hope for a franchise, and for a wholesome fan base. So why did we have to have a re-release on the Switch 2 4 years later? I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to wrap my head around how they fumbled the bag with this release. You have the full power of the Switch 2 at your fingertips. A full-scale island that was scrapped during development. You know what? We're already 5 minutes into the video and I'm already crashing out. Let's run it back. Sonic Frontiers Definitive Edition released on June 23rd, 2026, exclusively for the Nintendo Switch 2, just in time for Sonic's 35th anniversary and announced on his birthday stream as well. You know, if anything, I feel like this was the game industry's best kept secret. With all of the leaks and in-depth discussions leading up to the release of Sonic Frontiers Definitive Edition, it's safe to say the release of this game has been, I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for? Disappointing, embarrassing, underwhelming? Oh, Sonic Heroes Ultimate. Wait, no, that's 3 words. Grand Theft Auto Trilogy? No, that's 4 words. Damn it, that's 4 words. Oh. Moana! You know, I thought when writing the script this would be a funny comparison, but in hindsight, Moana is so much more worse than Definitive Edition ended up being. This re-release of the game leaked all the way back in March, exactly 1 day before its release date. Whoa. Back the Sage train up here. This was supposed to release 3 months ago, but you delayed it to the anniversary date. And all I got out of waiting longer was the same damn game I played 4 years ago! Sure, this could have possibly been an error on Sega's part, but knowing the history of the franchise, I think not! On March 25th, reports started to come in from the Korean Game Ring and Administration Committee about a supposed Sonic Frontiers Definitive Edition, which was both exciting and underwhelming, to say the least. I mean, on one hand, a re-release would be great for the Switch 2 since it hadn't received a dedicated port yet and provides people who haven't experienced the game the best way to play it on the go. On the other hand, who cares? Like, for real, Sonic Frontiers was released in November of 2021. 4 years ago! Now, I really shouldn't have been surprised by this when the news first dropped. Sega and Sonic Team have been releasing enhanced editions and extended versions of modern Sonic games for the past decade already. Sonic Mania had its Encore Mode DLC starring Mighty and Ray's grand return, and Sonic Mania Plus both physically and digitally. Sonic Origins Plus was released, adding Game Gear games, a playable Amy Rose for the 4 main games, and many of the quality of life features that enhance the game and add even more replayability. Even though they botched the port for Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Gosh damn it! Today's modern re-releases are not the first time that Sonic Team and Sega have done something like this. Go back to the early 2000s, and both Sonic Adventure DX and Sonic Adventure 2 Battle on the GameCube are both great examples of this as well. They both follow the same formula of adding extra game modes, additional content, quality of life features, and updates that you wouldn't find on their original releases for the Dreamcast. Hell, the black market was made fully accessible in these re-releases.
Actually, the black market was accessible on the Dreamcast via the web browser.
Moving on. Looking back briefly on these ports that Sega had previously released for these older Sonic titles was a step in the right direction in terms of bringing in new fans for the franchise. If you think about a lot of Sonic fans you would run into today at conventions, online, heck, even some Sonic tubers you watch got their first introduction to Sonic from these ports and re-releases. So it makes sense for them to do this even while Sega was going third party at the time to bring these games to a newer audience. These are the defining ports for experiencing these games today, even if the original versions still hold up. So regardless of how this clusterfuck unmitigated disaster ended up being in the final product, it makes sense to do something like this a couple of years later. So when this was initially leaked online, I, being the legally dense individual that I am, what, don't believe me? Here are my legal documents, was surprised to see that this may or may not be in active development at the time. As for the internet, they did what they do best. Everyone and their brother was going absolute bonkers over when and where this supposed port was going to get announced and released.
Okay, clarification and correction. Not everyone was going bonkers over Definitive Edition. In fact, there was a good chunk of people who are wondering what you would even add or do to a Definitive Edition to make it worthy of the name. And then there was another good chunk of people who were basically spreading buzz and spreading word about the whole thing and yapping about all the news and whatnot. So me saying everyone basically makes it to where everyone on Sonic Twitter is going to come after my ass. So, my apologies. I'm sorry. I'm stupid. It's 2 in the morning. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. I just want to get this video out, so help me. Making videos is hard.
I mean, everyone's first guess was the possibility of a Sonic Central. That's a good one. I, for one, wasn't buying it. I'm sorry I doubted you. Obviously, it made sense though. A Sonic Central did feel like a safe bet. I mean, this is the year of Sonic's 35th anniversary, so why not showcase it at a Sonic Central to announce all of the upcoming collabs, brand deals, and any other announcements and updates coming to the series, such as upcoming Crossroads characters, Sonic Rumble, or maybe even the next mainline Sonic game. Weeks went by as the buzz continued to go around when the supposed port was going to get officially revealed. Sonic Twitter was sitting on the edge of their seats, waiting and prowling to see when PlayStation or Nintendo would drop a State of Play or Nintendo Direct announcement. On top of that, speculation and rumors were piling up as days and weeks went by. Personally, I found it exhausting seeing this come out all at once. Like, it wouldn't be another day without hearing something new about the rumored release or speculation of discussion of what this enhanced version of Sonic Frontiers could change or include. Yet, it was just all mostly the same information about how it was the bare minimum of what a definitive edition could be. And also, I was just so exhausted from all the information. Like, really, it really just, I don't know, man. All of this felt underwhelming. It wasn't anything new that we hadn't heard of before, and it didn't sound like the game had any plans to bring something new to the table. Eventually, all this speculation would come to rest as non-E3 season had finally arrived. Surely we would finally get information on this unofficially announced, anticipated title. Sonic Racing Crossroads DLC, Year 2 content, and Pico Park were the only things showcased in major gaming showcases and press events. Now, all I ask is that you don't ask Sonic Twitter what they thought about it. Oh my goodness. At this point, the writing was on the wall. This unannounced port of a 4-year-old title was planned for June 23rd, and there was no denying it. State of Play, Summer Game Fest, Nintendo Direct, All with no news on the speculated title that people have been wanting to know about for months. A couple more weeks went by with the usual banter and speculation of when this Forsaken game would just release. Oh. Just like that? Yeah, so on June 15th, less than a week away, you could say it was practically a week away at this point, from its planned release date, the game broke street date at Walmart, the most obvious place that could have made this possible. Confirming that this wasn't just another simple mock-up, all it took was a simple check of the UPC barcode on the back of the box to confirm that this was indeed the speculated and rumored Sonic Frontiers Definitive Edition.
You don't say. You don't say. You don't say!
Only a day later, the official Sonic Twitter account announced a huge birthday stream that would take place on the June 23rd, featuring several content creators who would be hosting the event and doing several fun activities to raise money for St. Jude, which was really awesome of them to do. Like, genuinely one of, if not, the best community events I've seen held for Sonic. It was super, super wholesome to watch. It was important to keep in mind that news was not to be expected to add an event like this. Hell, I wasn't even expecting anything to get announced here. I was simply going into this stream for a good time and supporting a good cause. Because honestly, bro, what more could you want supporting charity, bro? That's all you could ever ask for. The supposed shadow drop of Sonic Frontiers Definitive Edition would most likely be outside this event.
Please take a look at the following video.
Aw, dang.
Holy crap, it's real! So, what's new? Surely we got all the DLC, bonus content, photo modes, the whole shebang! Surely there has to be some sort of new addition, right?
Wow. Nice catch, Sonic.
Well, now I know why it's called the American Dream. Because you have to be asleep to believe it. Sonic Frontiers Definitive Edition was released. It's the same game! Let's be real though, this was never going to add anything new to the game. After all, hope is the first step to disappointment.
Shouldn't have dropped out of college.
While there are a couple of fixes in this version of the game, the majority of fixes and patches that were already in major updates of the game are already here. It's pretty much bar for bar of the same thing that the majority of us played 3 to 4 years ago. Minor enhancements while retaining that glorious buggy mess that we all love. You'll get there eventually, Sonic. You'll get there. You'll get there. Put this next to the other versions of the game in comparison, and in the Switch 2 version, you'll find more pixels. It sometimes feels mediocre when it claims to be the definitive edition of Sonic Frontiers. What, you couldn't throw in an extra few fishies to yank out of the pond? In all honesty, this port could have been so much more. Like, honestly, I always thought about maybe them adding the extra, like, maybe, like, the full scrapped islands they had originally planned for during development, like, just the full unscrapped Kronos Island. I always thought that could be a good thing for the Definitive Edition, but I think that's just hopium in me speaking. Realistically, this was always going to be how it would end up. If you were expecting a visual overhaul in comparison to Switch 1, buddy, I got news for you. It's a Nintendo handheld. To be fair, putting the game in fidelity mode is essentially the equivalent of playing on PS4. Like, genuinely, like, I don't really see a difference here. I mean, there are some differences on the PS4. PS4 is equivalent probably playing on PS5 just at 30 frames per second, but I generally do see a bit, like, of similarities here between PS4 and Switch 2. So while visually it's not horrible, it could still look better. As for performance mode, what the hell happened? It's not, like, it's not bad. I just feel like there could have been more work put into the performance mode. I mean, it's nice having the option to play at 60 frames per second, but if we're going to go halfway, then why bother? Most of the pop-in and visual bugs from before still linger around unfixed. It also feels lazy considering that March was supposedly the original planned release date for this, meaning the team may or may not have had extra time to go in and fix these issues if they wanted. It just feels lazy, really quickly copped together, really like botched. It doesn't feel like a complete package that I would want from like a Game of the Year edition or a definitive edition of a game release in general. Not even for a Sonic game, just in general for a port of a previous release. I want to mention, by the way, this game is $50 on the eShop and in stores. Like, What? You're telling me you're gonna mark down the price of its previous releases down to $40 freaking dollars, but then, oh, we gotta make the definitive edition the best way to play Sonic Frontiers on the Switch 2, $50! Well, Sonic Racing Crossroads is still $70 for a kart racer. Oh, but let's not forget that there is no free Switch 2 upgrade. Actually, not even an upgrade at all for Switch owners who already own Sonic Frontiers on the Switch One. There is 0 upgrade options. Either no, you pay full price for the game, full MSRP, or it's no Switch 2 for you, buddy. It just feels like they only did the absolute bare minimum in making a port that should have been here since the Switch 2's launch. Like, we had Shadow Generations at launch. What stopped y'all from getting Frontiers on this sucker? Now, obviously, that would have to be manpower, obviously, and who was available to work on said ports at the time at Sega. But it's just also, like, if this was always going to be the plan for Frontiers, I don't see how it wouldn't have been difficult to port this to Switch 2. I'm just spitting right now. I don't know. Don't get me wrong, though, because the game does look good. Like, it looks great on the Switch 2 in handheld and on dock mode. It looks great on both ways to play it. I just feel like there's this extra oomph to give the graphics more fidelity and appeal. Just to do some comparisons here, we still have the pixelated trees in the final boss. Like, are we for real? Seriously? That could have been the easiest thing to fix for a damn port. Just put freaking trees in there, bro. Take any of the trees from Orenos Island and pop them suckers in there, bro. It ain't that hard. As for the game itself, even with its many flaws and clunkiness that still lingers from its other ports, it's still the Sonic Frontiers you've come to know and have played before. It's the full package. Even though there should have been more included. But despite not including more content in what is claimed to be the definitive version, it's not the worst port that we could have seen from the Sonic series. I would honestly say that this is an okay port of a game that had a huge impact on the Sonic franchise as a whole. I mean, if the game originally flopped at release, the Sonic series probably wouldn't even be in the state that it is now. I'm not gonna go too deep into it for this video since this video isn't a review of Sonic Frontiers. If you've played Sonic Frontiers, you already know the experience that you're gonna get with this port. Except now, you can play it anywhere you want, even though you already could on a Steam Deck. So would I say it's worth it to get Sonic Frontiers Definitive Edition for those who own a Switch 2? Well, there are 2 answers to that. If you've already played Sonic Frontiers, buy Dense Attack instead! Seriously, for 50 bucks, there's no reason to buy this port if you've already played it. However, if you've never played Sonic Frontiers before, or even a Sonic game in general, and this is your only option to play it, personally, I don't see why not. Well, yes, it's true, this port could have been so much more with extra additional content, maybe a director's cut edition, something along those lines. It's not horrific for what it already is. Yes, like I just said, cut content, additional features that weren't originally available, maybe even expanding the islands, or you could have easily done that. But for what it is, it's not the worst experience in the world for a half glass full. That's saying a lot because we've had some rough ports. This ain't one of them. If anything, it's mediocre at best. As for Sonic Frontiers itself, it's still a great game to go back and revisit. And yes, like the mechanics and physics in cyberspace could be so much better than what they already are. And even though the port for this on Switch 2 was half-baked in general, I had a fun time playing through the game again regardless. Although, if you want to experience Sonic Frontiers at its best, you would be better off just playing it on Steam or just playing it on a console. So at this point, what is the general consensus or point of even picking it up on Switch 2 in the first place anyway, besides just owning it on another console? Now, obviously, there's a reason that this should exist, and I do believe that this version of the game deserves to exist for those who haven't experienced a Sonic game or experienced Frontiers before. But for those who've already been in the Sonic fandom for years now, there's just no point in people picking this up if they've already experienced it. I mean, better yet, if you want to play this game for the first time, save up for a PC handheld to play this game on the go with a more powerful system. Overall, Sonic Frontiers Definitive Edition had potential to be so much more for a port that was meant to give players and Sonic fans the best experience possible for a game that played a big part in bringing Sonic back to the mainstream. Although this port could have been offered a lot more for being the definitive way to play Sonic Frontiers. A director's cut type deal would have worked out great for something like this. I could go on and on about how they could have expanded the islands, add more playable characters such as Sage, But let's be honest, like, this was the best that a port like this was gonna get. I mean, they could have done a Bowser's Fury scenario where they could have added an extra prequel story to this thing and how Eggman got there with Sage, or the creation of Sage. But you know, maybe I'm just spitting at this point. That probably would have happened. Initially with Sonic Frontiers, there was so much that the game experimented with and attempted to try new things that the series had never done before. Even if not all of it was executed greatly, it still shows how much Sonic Team is willing to branch out to new ideas and ways to expand and change up the formula for Sonic. Heck, I mean, Kishimoto-san made a Twitter account and posted about fan feedback from updates and the game in general. Sonic Frontiers has left a huge impact on my life as a person and as a Sonic fan. Playing to this port wasn't anything new or excitingly special, but I still appreciate that new Sonic fans have another way to experience Sonic Frontiers for the first time. Call it mediocre, call it mid, but this port might end up being someone's very first Sonic game. And I say in that case, it's worth it.
But it's a 4-year-old game and all you can do is just a simple port? Like, come on, you put on the front of the box that bonus content and updates are a feature. That's not a feature!
Well, if there's one thing I've learned from a Sonic Frontiers port, is that some things are better left for dead.